A big escalation in the ongoing war in Middle East. Iran has now launched a barrage of missiles on Israel. According to Israel, large chunks of missiles were intercepted by its air defense system Iron Dome. However, several visuals of missiles explosions have surfaced. Now, this marks a major exacerbation in the war situation, with Iran getting directly involved in the confrontation for the first time since October 7th Hamas attack last year. Now, this also comes amid reports of a suspected terror shooting in Tel Aviv. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned Tehran of retribution, saying that it will pay a price. Meanwhile, United States has declared unequivocal support for Israel, with President Joe Biden hailing the U.S. intel warning of Iran's attack in prior.
What was being speculated has now perhaps become a reality. Iran has officially, it seems, entered the wider West Asian regional war. IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, have tweeted and informed that a lot of their Israeli civilians across the borders are under bomb shelters as missiles from Iran have entered Israeli territory. Remember, this was something that was being feared, that was being speculated. Observers said Iran perhaps will not directly enter into this war, but now it seems that Iran has entered this war against Israel. This, remember, also comes after the United States sent out a warning that Iran is going to be launching ballistic missiles against Israel after its multiple attacks against Hezbollah militant group members. Now, what this means for this entire conflict is the fact that after Israel's ground offensive into southern Lebanon under its Operation Northern Arrows, Iran has now become a key player in this entire West Asian conflict. More fears, more lives being displaced, more people being displaced. Remember, in Lebanon alone itself, there are about 1 million people who have been displaced from across the borders. Thousands have been killed in these multiple airstrikes by Israel. But now, with Iran entering this West Asian conflict and this West Asian regional wider war, we will of course have to see how it really pans out, because now it means that there is a direct war that is happening between Iran and Israel, with United States also playing a very, very crucial role. President Joe Biden has been urging Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel to practice restraint, but that clearly hasn't happened. Netanyahu has defied the US as well as the UN calls, as well as calls by world leaders to practice restraint. That hasn't happened, so we'll have to wait and watch how this really pans forward. But for now, the West Asian region being turbulent, remaining uncertain, and of course displacing millions of people across the Lebanese border. On the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, I'm also joined by Sabri Saidam. He's a former Minister of Education and Communications and Information Technology from Palestine. Sabri Saidam, thank you very much for joining us on Mirror Now and talking with us. My first question to you, Mr. Saidam, how do you see this latest escalation by Israel, a ground offensive, Operation Northern Arrows, completely shifting focus to the southern Lebanon now?
Well, let me start by saying that this is expected. If you recall, Netanyahu last September, a few days before October 7th, had shown a map before the international community at the General Assembly of the UN, in which he stated that he takes up the responsibility of rearranging the Middle East, chopping out Palestine off his map, and not mentioning anything about peace, nor did he mention anything about the Palestinians. So he has not only finished Gaza, he's turned to Lebanon, maybe Iraq, Yemen later, and the West Bank, maybe other destinations. Who knows? Netanyahu feels now that he has the power, he has the support, and he has the cover from the American administration to do what he does.
Mr. Saidam, you know, Israel has been reiterating its argument in this entire conflict, in this entire escalation, that for Israel, it is a question of survival, because it is fighting the Houthis, the Hamas group, and of course the Hezbollah. How do you really see it? You know, how do you see the fact that Israel has been fighting this for what it calls its survival?
Well, let me say that had Israel given in to the will of the international community, given back the land to Palestinians upon the request of that community and upon the UN resolutions, we wouldn't have been here. Instead, Israel has dragged on this conflict for years on end, if not decades on end, and has turned its back to the will and wish of the people of the world and decided to basically grab as much land as it desires. So that actually closes the door on the ability of Israel to be absorbed by the international community's wish to reconsider a matter that is of top urgency. This matter focuses on giving back the rights and the lands to the Palestinians so that a Palestinian state can come into being. With that attitude, with this policy of aggression that Israel has adopted over the years, with the expansion of settlements, the confiscation of land, the plundering of water of Palestinians, is certainly the scene, as it were, becomes imminent. So it is Israel to blame, and that's exactly what Netanyahu wanted to see. A map that is so distorted, an environment that's so polluted, so that he appears to be the victim. This victimization of Israel is of its own making. Israel wanted to attack everyone. Israel attacked the Palestinians, disrespected the wish of the people of the world, turned its back to the international community and new resolutions, as I said, and led the scene into disaster, an eruption of Palestinian rejectionism, of existence of this mode of fighting the people, the land, and their identity is basically a result of what Israel has been perpetrating over years on end.
Mr. Saidam, you say that Israel has got it upon itself. It is the perpetrator in this conflict. Israel quotes and reiterates the Six-Day War that happened and how it was attacked and how it survived that war.
Well, my dear, so is the case with Israel claiming that 7th of October has led us to where we are today. Mind you, Israel has used the 7th of October to kill the Palestinians. Indeed, we don't, as Palestinians, celebrate nor rejoice any killing of any human being. We will not in any way endorse any killing of any man or woman, regardless of their walk of life. But to come and kill people at the magnitude that happened in Gaza, they bulldoze property of the Palestinian, the size of Gaza, to confiscate the dreams and aspirations of the Palestinian people is totally unjustified. Where on earth would you see a society killing 42,000 people? And that's, again, is a modest figure. Where on earth would you see a land that's the size of Gaza being bulldozed in its entirety? Where would you see people being imprisoned as much as the Palestinians were in occupied Palestine, but here in this part of the world? Israel has to blame itself for the failure of living up to the promises and the wishes of the international community, and Israel is to blame for thinking that force can really deter the wish and will of the Palestinian people.
Mr. Saidam, I believe, unfortunately, you lost your family as well in this conflict with Israel. And I'm sure you would like this to end as well. You would like this violence, this bloodshed, this chaos to end as well. Where does this end? How will it end?
Well, let me say that the application of common sense is certainly the way forward. The two-state solution, the application of UN resolutions, and the respect and dignity for Palestinians is what leads to the respect and dignity of the Israelis. Those who are claiming that they are the friends of Israel, your friend is someone who should show care and consideration, and the world should turn to Israel and say that our care and consideration is focused and bent on giving back the land to the Palestinians, allowing a Palestinian state to come into being, and stop this madness and believe that weapons will win you the distress of Palestinians and their expulsion and deportation. I lost a big portion of my family indeed, but I remain adamant as a Palestinian to see a different reality, a future that's much brighter, and seize this opportunity that leads us to ending of this madness and application of common sense and the departure of this mad Israeli government so that a sensible Israeli government comes into the scene whereby it recognizes the policy policy of live and let live.
All right, we'll leave it there. Hopefully, this conflict, this violence, this bloodshed will end soon, Mr. Saidam, and both sides will have peace. Their children will have peace, and there will be generations that will see peace on both sides. Thank you very much for talking with us, Mr. Sabri Saidam, on Mirror Now and sharing your perspective. Thank you very much.